the good spirit and some other entities. I'm Ging and I'm new here. I have a lot of ghost stories to tell, but this one just happened recently, last August 29, 2010. 3 experiences took place on the same night. It was about 6:30 p.m., Philippine time, when the first one occurred. So here is my story. I was having a conversation with my boyfriend. I suddenly took a short look at my room. I wasn't surprised at all. I don't really know why. When I saw a part of a long white dress waving behind my room's door. Behind my door is my cabinet. It means whoever she was, she already passed through my cabinet. And as if she was heading to a windy place. I told this to my boyfriend, but he took it as a joke, so I just simply proceeded to our topic. Now while I am writing this story, I realized that I also saw that same long white dress when my aunt died last year. I forgot the cause of her death, but I know it was a disease. I was all alone in our house. The rest were at my aunt's wake except for my cousin who was practicing with her choirmates. I remember that I was also having a conversation with my present boyfriend over the cell phone. He was still courting me back then, when I saw the part of that same dress. Well, I never knew who was in that dress. Who knows? I may know her some other time. The second one was experienced by my older sister. While I was talking with my boyfriend over the phone, she went upstairs to take a bath. After almost an hour I hung up the phone and she went downstairs. Right after she entered the living room, she asked if anyone had gone upstairs. Our maid said that no one had gone upstairs because they were all busy watching the television and I was busy talking with my boyfriend. She then told us that her pair of slippers was already fixed beside the room's door leaning against the wall. She clearly remembered that she just left her slippers scattered outside our room's door. She felt a little scared. That's why she went down to the living room without even combing her hair. She even told us that maybe the Nene, mother, upstairs thought that we are careless with our belongings and that's why she bothered to help us by simply fixing my sister's slippers. The last one was my experience. Well, my mom came from a retreat with her fellow church workers. It was almost 12 when my sister decided to buy something to eat as a midnight snack. I decided not to come with them because I still have classes the next day. So the 3 of them, my mom, older sister and her 2-year-old daughter, went out to buy the midnight snack. As I was trying to catch my sleep, I heard Iman's voice whispering in my right ear. I can't understand what he was saying. His voice was deep and I can't understand even a single word. I ran out of the room and proceeded to my room. My grandmother and our maid were using my room until now. I just told my grandmother that the 3 went out and left me alone in the room as an excuse. When they finally arrived home, my mom scolded me because of bothering my grandmother in her sleep. It was a mistake that I told her what I've experienced. She scolded me even more. She was seeking help. This story took place 4 years ago, when I was in first year high school in one of the exclusive schools for girls somewhere in Quezon City, Philippines. I was a transferee back then. I had 6 great friends and they were really nice to me. We were very happy girls with no worries at all. The school was having a sports fest that time, so we had no classes. It was about 8:30, or 9 o'clock, in the morning. I was with 3 of my friends, Angelique, Nika and Kim, in the school's garden when this happened. We were sitting under a huge tree in the garden near the convent. We were having so much fun, telling jokes and laughing out loud. Then we went silent all of a sudden. In a blink of my eye, I saw a scene. A student about 15 years old was crying really hard, begging someone to stop hurting her or something. Then I opened my eyes. I was so nervous. After about 10 seconds, I finally decided to close my eyes to see what was really happening to the girl I saw. And this is what I saw. It was about 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the evening and the sun was already setting. There was a second-year student who stayed late. The girl was tall for her age, she had a pale white complexion and a pointed nose. She's like a Spanish Filipina. She was about to go home when she passed by the garden. There was a janitress cleaning and sweeping near the huge tree. The janitress was fat and short, she had curly black hair. She was wearing a yellow-orange t-shirt with our school's initials at the back of the shirt. The janitress approached the student. Then the next thing I saw was the girl was begging for the janitress to stop hurting her. The girl was crying so loud, so the janitor took a large bark of a tree and started hitting her. Then the janitress started raping the student. That was the moment I figured out that the janitress was a lesbian. When the janitor was already done, she was trying to hide her crime by burying the girl. I can't recognize the place, but in the scene it was at the back of the school near the convent. I opened my eyes. My friends were still silent. I got even more nervous. I want to tell my friends what I saw, but I don't want to ruin our happy moment, but I can't help myself. I finally told them what I saw. While I was narrating, my friend suddenly interrupted. I also saw that Ging, the janitress, was wearing a yellow-orange t-shirt with our school's initials at the back. I was shocked. Only the two of us saw what happened. Then Kim suggested that we could try playing the spirit of the coin. We all agreed and started playing. She said that her name is Emma Buakasaw. I am a second-year student. She died in 1983 and she was seeking help. We apologized because the only way for us to help her is to pray for her soul, and then we simply ended the conversation. Now that I'm already 17, I'm having a doubt if that really happened. Until I had contact with Angelique. She said that one of our teachers, Sir Vince, told their class that he saw a girl under the huge tree in the garden when he was heading to the convent. Sir Vince gave the exact description of the girl I saw 4 years ago. It means that we saw the exact same girl. Well, Sir Vince can see not only spirits but demons as well. After this experience, I began to see people deaths. I've also tried reading minds once, which was an accident. I also started to see people whom I never knew before. I can see in my mind what they were doing without actually seeing them with my eyes. I've practiced this several times. People were amazed and couldn't believe that I have such ability. I'm sorry for forgetting what this ability is called. Abducted by an elemental entity. Before I proceed with my story, I would like to clear some things up. First, I am not a good storyteller, and second, I'm not even good in English, so please, bear with me. So here's my story. This story was shared by our previous nanny, Jen. She was only 19, she's already 20 now. This story is about her sister. Let's call her May. May was said to be abducted by some elemental entities near their place. Jen is originally from Samar. Here in the Philippines, Samar is known for elemental entities living in this place, such as witches, shamans and some things like that. Her family is still living there except for her older brother, who already has a wife and a family living here in Manila. According to Jen, May was beautiful, or should I say gorgeous. Though they are all tan in complexion, May was the only white, and she even looked like the stove Nino with curly brownish hair. Gorgeous as Jen described her. Jen was only about 11 years old when she and the rest of her siblings were playing hide and seek outside their house and some places behind the trees. When night fell, she and all of her siblings went back to their house except for May. Their mother got worried, and thinking that May was still hiding behind the trees, Jen together with some of her siblings went out to look for her, since she was also very worried about her younger sister. Hours passed, but May was nowhere to be found. Their mother started to call out for their neighbors and asked for help in looking for her young daughter. She was eventually found by a neighbor. Her foot was stuck inside a huge tree, in the forest. According to her, she was invited by a lady into the tree. Her mother got worried even more. Midnight came and the whole family were sound asleep when they heard May crying. Their mother switched on the light and cried with what she saw. May's back was elevated from their bed while the rest of her body was still lying. May vomited and even turned to violet. Their mother called a witch doctor and started a ritual. The witch doctor said that an elemental entity in the tree was really fond of her and she wanted May to come with her. The witch doctor could do nothing but some rituals to save May. About 3 or 4 in the morning, May died. She wasn't able to hold on because of the pain. During her wake, their grandmother was staring at the huge tree with tears falling from her eyes. She then suddenly said, "You were wrong." They were all puzzled. "You shouldn't have embalmed her body. She was still alive and was only out of her body." The lady took her for a while and May would have returned to her body. They all cried with what they heard. When the grandmother was asked how she knew that, she said that May was behind the huge tree, smiling with the tears falling from her eyes. Christmas breaks chills. It was a cloudy afternoon. Christmas break had just begun and kids in our village were so excited. They were all outside their homes playing different kinds of games, myself included. I eventually became tired, so I decided to get myself home to have a drink. As I entered the house, I heard my brother asking my sister to take a photo with the camera of her new Nokia phone. While I was having a glass of water, my brother positioned himself beside the Christmas tree. I went behind my sister to have a closer look. However, just before my sister took the shot, I saw a woman pass behind my brother. She was wearing a white vein and a white dress. Her eyes were all white. I mean, yes, she doesn't have a pupil. It made my eyes wide open. I asked my sister if I could take a look at my brother's photo, but she said that she deleted it with a scared look on her face. This second story took place a few years after my first experience. My mother gave me a Walkman Thoth as a flashlight as a Christmas gift, which I was really fond of playing with. Ever since I was a kid, I was already suffering from insomnia. I would fall asleep for about 2 to 4 in the morning, which, of course, gave me the habit of waking up late. It was about 3 days after Christmas when this weird thing happened. It was past 12 midnight and I was still wide awake. Listening to the FM radio of the Walkman started to bore me since all of the stations started playing old songs which I can't relate to. I remembered my Walkman's flashlight and started playing with it, turning it on and off. I got out of bed, headed to the bathroom and pointed my flashlight and started flickering it, waving my hand all around which gave the light a disco ball effect. Because the whole house was totally dark, I really did enjoy playing with my Walkman's flashlight. I began to feel tired and sleepy, so I decided to go back to my room. I laid down on my bed facing the wall and listened to the songs on the radio. Because I was so fond of my Walkman's flashlight, I still continued to flicker it on and off. When I turned the light on, something made me stop from doing so. In the button reflection, I saw someone, or something, behind me, standing at the edge of my bed. It was a faceless woman in white dress with shoulder-leveled hair. She was just there, standing behind me. I guess she's just staring at me. I was frozen and couldn't move in fear. My blanket was covering my feet and I couldn't even grab it to cover myself. I forgot how long I was staring at her, but I remember I turned off the light and started to grab my blanket, prayed until I fell asleep. The next few years, my cousin joined a choir in our church within the village. We were just sharing stories, until she mentioned that she has two gifted co-choir members, Kuya Jeff and Kuya Miggy, not their real names. My cousin said that Kuya Miggy informed her that there is someone with us in our house. My cousin freaked out and asked who. He said that one of them was a faceless, shoulder-leveled hair woman hanging around the kitchen. Kuya Jeff confirmed it and said he always sees the woman whenever they hold their practices in our house. I was shocked. The girl was real and not just the fragment of my imagination, just like my mother used to tell me. From then on I had this eerie feeling that someone's watching me, especially in the bathroom. The unexpected guest. This incident just happened recently when my aunt died due to colon cancer at the night of the Mother's Day celebration. Jen and I had just gotten home from Sunday Mass when we saw my niece, mom and my sister were all dressed up. "Where are you going?" I asked. "We're going to go visit Chong, Thelma," my niece answered. "At this time of night? It's already 9:30 p.m. you know." "Why so sudden?" Until I saw my mom crying as she grabbed the iPad from the table. "Your Aunt Thelma just passed away." And for a second or so, I was frozen. Not in fear but in grief. Her smiles and laughter suddenly flashed back into my brain. We all felt desolated by her sudden death. She was kind, gentle and simple. That's how we are all going to remember her. So they drove off to Sampaloc, Manila, Philippines, where my auntie's funeral was located. Soon after they had left, we decided to have our late dinner. And that was when the unexpected guest showed up. We were having our usual dinner conversations, talking about how Chong, Aunt Thelma seemed healthy when she last visited our home a few months back. When something caught Jen's attention at the window that surely made her look so pale. She stood up to check if there was anyone outside. "Gab, is that you? Come on in, the door isn't locked," she said as she opened the door to let him in. What she found out made her spine tingle. There was no one outside, nothing but my mom's plants. If ever Gab has already gotten home, we would have heard the steel gate open. She almost fainted. I can clearly see her terrified face as she made her way back to the table. I asked her, "What? Who is it?" I saw someone peeking through the window. I was only able to see half of its face. I thought it was Gab again, trying to scare the hell out of us as he always does. It was still visible as I walked towards the door to check on it, and the creepiest part of it was actually looking back at me as I made my way to the front door. I felt my heart racing, but I still tried to be upbeat. "Maybe it was just your imagination. You know, from watching too many horror movies. How can that be? We stopped watching those movies ages ago, remember?" We laughed and tried to shrug off the crap out of us. After having our dinner, we then cleaned up the table and decided to buy something for midnight snacks in a nearby store, just a few blocks away from our house. I then put my daughter to sleep as soon as we got home. Hours later, Jen started hearing my daughter's voice calling out for her from upstairs while she was comfortably sitting on one of the staircases. She went into our room to check on her, but to her surprise my daughter was sound asleep. She also exclaimed that she surely saw a white silhouette just passing by across the doorway outside our room since she just left the room door ajar. We believe that Jen's quite sensitive. She can sometimes hear and see these entities. One of the most terrifying experiences she ever had was the accident that took place last year. When her husband's best friend drowned at a certain beach resort in Bulacan, Philippines. She saw it. She saw the incident. That's why the man was up for her to make his anger felt. Which is of course another different story to begin with. The last farewell. Kuya Ram, older brother, died in the last week of June, and a few weeks after his passing, Aunt Thelma, whom I mentioned in my previous story, the unexpected guest, had passed away. We honestly have no idea as to what caused Kuya Ram's death, but we're quite sure that he was having multiple complications. This just happened last Saturday, August 2nd, 2014. Aunt Alice was having a high blood pressure and my cousin, Ming, was the one taking care of her. As for us, we were all out to watch one of Marvel blockbuster movies, Guardians of the Galaxy, at the SM Mall of Asia. At about 10:30 p.m., Ming was sound asleep while Aunt Alice was still wide awake. There was a sudden loud knock on their door. Their gate didn't make any noise, which got my aunt puzzled, thus she didn't bother checking the front door. Right after the knocking stopped, my cousin, who was still asleep, began to sob. Aunt Alice woke her up and asked what was wrong. Kuya Ram's here, Ma. I saw him, my cousin said, still sobbing. Aunt Elise calmed her down and asked Ming what happened. Kuya Ram was in my dream, Ming. Don't be afraid. I'm sorry if I frightened you. I'm just here to say goodbye to all of you, especially to your mom. I'm just so glad that they gave me the permission to say this last farewell. I'm sorry again, Ming. You can go to sleep now, he said. Then I saw him hug you tight. The background was pitch black and in split seconds he was gone. Ming narrated her dream as she continued to sob. We just remembered that last Saturday was his 40th day. My cousin and aunt had offered their own prayers. Maybe it was also his own way of saying his thanks to Aunt Alice, who took care of him ever since he was little. Kuya Ram, we know you're in good hands now. We all wish for your peace and happiness. We all miss you so much, and your memories will forever be in our hearts. May you rest in peace. The Three-Fingered Entity. I'm Lovebugs, the author of the stories Abducted by Elemental Entities, and She Was Seeking Help. It's already been a couple of years since I last logged into this site, which made me forget my password, so I made a new account. Anyway, let's proceed to my story, which happened a year ago, just before the reconstruction of our house took place. The incident happened to my sister, M, who's been working in one of the call centers in Eastwood. Before our house was renovated, M usually sleeps at my parents' room together with my mom and her 3-year-old daughter. Our house back then was a bungalow type with 3 rooms. My parents' room was the largest, next was my room, then my aunt's and cousin's room being the last. One night at about 6 in the evening, while having an early dinner and watching the daily night news, M suddenly woke up about 2 hours earlier than usual. She went out of the room sweating. At first we were astonished, of course, because we noticed how pale her face was. She seemed so afraid, as if she woke up from a nightmare. Our attention was drawn to her and we forgot about our own meals. We then asked her why. After she told us what happened, we looked at each other as if we couldn't believe that a spirit could really do such a thing. M has always been a light sleeper. Although she can easily fall asleep, she can also be easily awakened by a very light sound or simply a presence, no matter how deep her sleep can be. I was in a deep slumber until something woke me up. There were footsteps roaming around the room. It bothers me, of course, but I didn't mind it at first. I thought that one of you guys might be looking for something. While I was waiting for you to leave the room with my eyes still closed, something finally made me get out of bed. Someone was pulling my hair, toes, and fingers. I thought it was Emily playing a trick on me, so I turned around to scold her, but to my surprise I was all alone in the room. Then I felt a presence beside me, as if someone's face was getting closer. Closer. And closer to me. It really scared the hell out of me. M narrated. We were all speechless. My mom, who's always been the most religious member of the family, wasn't able to say anything, unable to explain anything about the incident until she finally broke the silence. Hindi ka kasi nag dadasal bago matulog. Translation. That's because you're not praying before going to sleep. We just invited her to have an early dinner with us instead of thinking about what happened. Days, weeks passed, but M was still complaining about the situation. She said that the same incidents were happening every day during her sleep. She even exclaimed that things even started to get worse. She's already been experiencing sleep paralysis and nightmares. These had brought her inconvenience due to lack of sleep since she was working at night. So I let her borrow one of the rosaries. I then saw her wrap the rosary around her fingers, pray, and start to fall asleep. She did this every night until we finally didn't hear any complaints from her anymore. One afternoon, 3 months after M's encounter, my mom, M, Emily, my daughter, and I were playing in the room, telling stories and stuff. I decided to take a photo of my mom holding my 6-month-old daughter in my parents' room and uploaded them on Facebook. Several weeks after, it was already 2 a.m. and I was still wide awake, trying to get the boredom out of me. I browsed some photos I recently Uploaded on Facebook, however, when I saw my mom's photo together with my baby. Something made me stare at it for about 3 minutes and I didn't bother to get some sleep for the rest of the night. In the picture, you could see some sort of a shadow like small hand holding or pulling my sister's finger and a blurred head of a boy on the side. What makes the image creepier is that the hand seems to have only 3 fingers. I showed this photo to my sister wondering if it has anything to do with my sister's unexplained experiences during her sleep. My sister started to panic. She screamed and ran towards my mom. Mom claimed that it was her hand holding my sister in the photo so my sister would stop panicking. However, it was obviously impossible for her to hold my sister, even to lay a finger on her, because as you can see she's holding my daughter with both hands. Peep's choice note. Withheld photo as per request of the author. Kiddo. It's been a while since the last time I submitted a story. I'm Lovebugs and I'm also the author of Abducted by Elemental Entities, Christmas Break Chills, and a few more stories you might want to read. I'm now 29 and now have a family of my own. The story I'm about to share is my experience which took place in our previous apartment way back in 2016. You see, we lived in an apartment somewhere in Cainta City, Philippines. The place was simple. It has a small kitchen, bathroom, bedroom and a living room which has enough space for the furniture and all, but we didn't have many things back then, so we decided to sleep in the living room. We set up our television and mattress. It's cozy. The windows were always open at night so the cold breeze could fill the whole living room. I arranged some baby pillows around my daughter one night, looking at her while she sleeps, was so calming. I caught her smiling and I wonder what she's dreaming. Me and my partner, Ray, have been working in the BPO industry for years. Our body clocks follow our usual shift schedules, so it's always been pretty hard for us to fall asleep at night. It's 2 a.m. and we're still wide awake, eating snacks while watching a movie we've seen a dozen times. We then talked about the most recent accident that happened on the 2nd floor. A 1-year-old kid fell down the stairs, damaged its head, fractured its bones and was of course, rushed to the hospital. I told Ray how sorry I felt for both the parents and the baby. I then got up to grab a stick of Marlboro Black from its box. It was empty. Realizing that we just run out of our mentholated sticks, I had no choice but to buy some from the nearest store. And yes, at 2 a.m. I dressed up a white shirt and longer shorts. Our apartment was on the 3rd floor, so I still had to go down the wooden stairs. I then went to the store, bought the cigars and headed straight home. Out of habit, I looked up at our unit as I walked past the cars at the parking lot just outside the building. I can see our terrace and front door. I then looked back down to watch my step, and when I almost reached the gate, I looked up again. There's this kid holding the terrace grill, so young and small. I even blinked to see if I'm seeing this right. Her dark black eyes were staring back down at me. I panicked. It was my daughter. She might have gotten out of our unit. I rushed upstairs. My heart was beating so fast that I could almost hear it. When I got there, gone. She's gone. Without a trace. I walked slowly towards our unit's front door. I opened it and there I saw my daughter, still asleep and in the same position when I left her. Did Althea get up? I saw her at the terrace. I asked Ray. He then looked at me with this puzzled look on his face and answered, "What? Yeah, I just saw her, that's why I rushed in." The still puzzled expression on his face clearly answers my question. No doubt. I was about to get out to investigate, but when I reached the knob, that's when I realized. My daughter is 8 months old, she still can't walk. And what's more, she can't possibly reach and turn the doorknob. The kid I saw was taller and older than my daughter. My heart was beating so fast. I knew what I saw. It was clear and solid. I can't say if it's pale white, but she's totally looking back at me with her chinky black eyes. Just black. No pupil, no conjunctiva. Just black. I didn't even wonder because my daughter has long eyelashes and it was dark. But I was somehow relieved, and I think it's better to be something else than my daughter. And no, I know what you're thinking. The kid that fell down the stairs is still alive. Months later, it's around 7 p.m. and I was preparing myself for work. Took a quick selfie. The doorway and the terrace can be seen behind me in the photo. I soon uploaded it on Facebook as a profile photo. Soon after I uploaded it, one of my closest friends posted a comment, "May bata saw like it mo. There's a kid behind you." I looked at the photo again. I almost dropped my phone. The kid in the photo is the exact Zama kid I saw at the terrace. Those same black eyes. You might think it reminds you of a character in a horror movie. But I swear, this is 100% real.